What's up, Taiwan? I'm Joyce coming to you from Taipei with the latest news. The central budget is once again at the center of heated debate in the legislature. This morning, Premier Zhuo Rongtai expressed the cabinet's concerns that the approved budget, which had some of the biggest cuts in Taiwan's history, could majorly impact government programs, while the opposition said that the cuts were meant to stop overspending. Tiffany Wong has been following the story and joins us live from our newsroom. Tiffany, what happened at the session this morning?
Well, it was another tense day in the legislature. As you said, the premier was set to give a report, a critique of the legislature's approved budget, but he was delayed by several minutes as opposition lawmakers flooded the legislative floor just as he had reached the podium and was about to speak. This is all about that contentious budget that had gone through months of back and forth between the ruling and opposition parties in the legislature. The cabinet's original proposal for the budget was slashed by 6% by the opposition parties in the legislature. And today, the premier called for more support in certain areas. The budget cuts include cuts to the Foreign Ministry, the Mainland Affairs Council, which is the body that deals with China, and also Taiwan's state-owned power utility. It also includes major freezes to the defense budget, and these areas were all singled out by the ruling party, the cabinet, and the civil society organizations as needing more funding. Today, the premier tried to persuade lawmakers that more funding for social welfare is needed, especially to address Taiwan's population crises, including a low fertility rate and a super-aging population.
随着社会福利的支出增加，政府也要加速推动财政稳健的措施，才能确保国家永续的发展。所以，敢生能养、乐活、尊老，这已经不是个人的义务，而是国家的责任。
The legislative speaker, Han Kuo-yu, who is a member of the opposition Kuomintang, had urged the premier not to request a revote in the legislature. And the budget does reflect a 3% increase from the previous year's budget. But with the huge blow to the budget that the cabinet had hoped for, the premier does seem poised to request a higher budget, even though the chance of lawmakers changing their minds in a revote are quite slim.
Thanks for that, Tiffany. That was Tiffany Wong reporting from the TaiwanPlus newsroom. In South Korea, at least 2 people are dead and 7 are injured after a bridge under construction collapsed. The accident happened in the city of Ansong, 80 kilometers south of Seoul. The steel structures supporting the highway bridge gave way after being lifted into place by cranes. Authorities say 6 of the injured are in critical condition. Acting President Choi Sang-mok has ordered rescue workers and resources to the scene. Week after week this winter, Taiwan has seen medical visits for flu hit decade highs, stretching emergency rooms to their limit. A shortage of nurses is a big part of the problem, and doctors say misuse of medical resources is making things worse. John Van Trieste reports.
On Monday, major medical centers in Taipei saw dozens of patients waiting in the emergency room for beds. In some hospitals, upwards of 70. The result of a wave of flu and norovirus cases stretching hospitals across the country thin. Grueling conditions and low pay have set off a mass exodus of nurses into other professions in recent years. Nurses' unions say despite government caps put in place last March, at busy times there may now be as few as 1 nurse for every 18 patients. So even if there are empty beds available, hospitals don't have the staff to look after them.
那他本来是急诊的业务，人进来，那他有各种不同的急症的状况要处理。那现在因为没有办法上去，他就得要去处理住院这一些 routine 的，就我还要一直在进入的病人，其实对他来讲是不堪负荷的。
With fewer than 60% of registered nurses still in medicine and several hundred quitting each month, this problem could be a long-term one. But the nursing shortage isn't the full picture. Some doctors are upset at a tendency for patients without urgent conditions to skip over primary care doctors and come straight to emergency rooms, especially at big prestigious medical centers, wasting medical resources.
台湾从来没有落实分级医疗。其实落实分级医疗就能解决一大部分。轻症本来就不该直接跑到医学中心。
The Health Ministry has been working on a solution, holding 3 rounds of discussion with medical workers. Part of its plan is spending more to stem the exodus of nurses.
行政院从去年开始通过，也就是4年275亿的投入在护理人力留才的准备计划里面。
It also says it will work on the availability of beds and encourage cooperation between different hospitals. But it's also heard doctors' concerns about the use of medical resources and says it will put out more information encouraging people to consider whether they really need urgent care.
轻症如果能够减少一点到大医学中心的急诊，由区医院、地区医院甚至社区的诊所能够处理住院住不上去的问题嘛，住不上去的问题是医院要去调床。
But some doctors still feel this goal needs to be backed up with rules about who can seek emergency care to really make a dent in a growing problem. Joseph Wu and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
A high court in Kaohsiung has acquitted 4 former military officers accused of spying for China, citing insufficient evidence. Prosecutors said the 4 retired officers accepted funding and hospitality from the Chinese Communist Party. But the court said traveling to China and meeting with officials was not enough proof to convict them. Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council hopes this will not be the end of the investigation.
中共统一台湾的政策从来没有改变，对台渗透分化这些作为有一直存在我们也希望司法机关勿枉勿纵，查办到底。
The Defense Ministry says there's been a 3-fold increase in alleged cases of Chinese espionage since 2021. French President Emmanuel Macron says he believes there is a path to peace in Ukraine. He made the remark after meeting with his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump in Washington, D.C. Macron's visit to the White House comes after the U.S. began negotiations on a peace deal with Russia without involving Ukraine or Europe. Trump backed Macron's offer to deploy European peacekeeping troops in Ukraine once a deal is reached, as France's leader pushed for security guarantees for the country. But the two disagreed on funding, and Macron corrected Trump's claim that Europe will get all its money back from Ukraine.
Europe is loaning the money to Ukraine. They get their money back. No, in fact, to be frank, we paid 60% of the total efforts, and it was through, like the US, loans, guarantee, grants, and we provided real money. To be clear, we have 230 billion frozen assets in Europe, Russian assets, but it is not as a collateral of a loan because this is not our belonging. So.
Trump is seeking some kind of repayment for U.S. military aid given to Ukraine under the Biden administration. How AI can be used and abused in the human rights sphere is the focus of an international convention happening in Taiwan. The 4-day event includes hundreds of speakers, including Taiwan's vice president. Reese Ayers is in Taipei with more details.
RightsCon 2025 has arrived in Taiwan, marking the major Events East Asia debut. The annual Human Rights Conference analyzes the intersection of technology and human rights. Run by US digital civil rights NGO Access Now, RightsCon invites hundreds of speakers from a global community of activists and tech companies to discuss how technology impacts human rights. Many of the over 200 workshops and discussions focus on how emerging technologies such as AI and deepfakes are being used to further marginalize minority groups. Other sessions highlight the risks AI poses for democratic societies, as it is increasingly used to influence voter behavior and undermine the democratic process in countries around the world. And among guests speaking at the event, Taiwan's Vice President Bi Kim-hsiao, who highlights Taiwan's position at the frontier of democracy and technology.
We understand the immense potential that the internet and digital technologies hold for progress, transparency, and empowerment. At the same time, we are acutely aware of the challenges that come with these advancements, challenges that test our resilience and commitment to a free and open society. As a beacon of democracy in the Asia-Pacific region,
the conference encourages a multi-stakeholder approach to navigating the complex intersection of technology and human rights, calling on big tech, governments and civil society to join forces to protect those most vulnerable. Given its own crucial role in the global tech industry and as one of the world's youngest democracies facing constant cyber attacks from China, Taiwan is in a unique position to offer insight and solutions to some of the world's most pressing digital concerns. Andy Xue, Ryan Wu and Risa is in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
A leading economic think tank is optimistic that Taiwan's business climate will stay strong over the next 6 months, thanks to booming AI demand. That's despite U.S. President Trump's looming threat to impose tariffs on Taiwan's all-important semiconductors. The Taiwan Institute of Economic Research says chip giant TSMC has the bargaining power to deflect Trump's tax. But amid rumors that TSMC may get involved in the U.S.'s plan to save a struggling Intel, the institute says the company has other options, like choosing to invest more in its existing U.S. site.
可能首要的一个选项会是比较是先以这个独资的先进封装厂来做一个设置，所以我想在这个部分某种程度还是可以满足川普在这个总统要求，就是说当地在地化落地的一个这个先进这个制成它的一个生产线。
Taiwan President Lai Ching-te has already called for more chip talks with the U.S. and encouraged more Taiwanese investment into the country in response to Trump's threats. The sport of orienteering is gaining ground in Taiwan as young people with a sense of adventure put down their phones and go explore the real world. As John Van Trieste reports, the country is already producing champions.
An athlete shows off a sport that's got a devoted and growing following. Using just a map and a compass, competitors must find their way over obstacles, racing to scan in at designated checkpoints before their rivals. And there's no GPS to help. This is orienteering, a kind of real-world treasure hunt that's timed. And many athletes who started out in other disciplines have found the rush and the skilled preparation it takes addictive.
自己画了一些模拟赛图，透过卫星地图，把能看到的赛区的环境都看过了，所以等于说我跑到赛区里面之后，可能有2/3的画面是我清楚的。
Part of the appeal is its similarity to games like the wildly popular Pokemon Go, but also that it forces competitors to put down their phones and use navigation skills that are often forgotten today.
这件事情就很像是定向越野在看读图的时候，他往那个方向是没有怪物的。
And under the direction of coaches like Lai Wei-lun, Taiwan's national team is already seeing results. Despite tough conditions, including a sick teammate, the team won 2 bronze medals at last year's Asian Youth Tournament in Thailand.
前一天在休息日的时候，我是发高烧，然后全身就是四肢无力，支撑我跑起来的动力就是2个队友，更重要的是我们是代表国家去。
Though still far from the mainstream popularity of baseball or basketball, orienteers like this hope to spread the word and bring home even more medals next time. Dolphin Chen and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. For more, you can visit us on the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media. Finally, we leave you with images from the Fido Awards in London, where Peggy, the doggy star of Deadpool and Wolverine, won the top global honor. I'm Joyce. Take care and see you next time.